Hello and welcome to this Lord of the Flies webinar for years 10 and 11. We're looking at Jack in quotations. The three key learning aims for this webinar are to look at key quotations that reveal Jack's character, quotations that really underline some of the key themes, ideas in the novel, and also use subject terminology to analyze some of these quotations. Now, Jack is a key character. He is the hunter, and he really represents uncontrolled savagery and the desire for power. This is an allegorical novel, which means that the author is using these characters, these places, to explore some key ideas about society. He looks at order and sensible democratic behavior versus chaos and savagery and desire for power, which Jack represents. The first quotation is here near the beginning of the novel. He says, "I ought to be chief because I'm chapter chorister and head boy, and I can sing C sharp." You can see that sense of entitlement and proud. It's that sense of overarching self-worth and this overbearing self-esteem that he'll push his own achievements, being able to sing a C sharp, and his own accomplishments to push himself forwards. So it's that sense of ambition, which is the opposite of the other character who's the leader, Ralph, someone who's selfish here rather than selfless, someone who's self-serving rather than seeking to serve other boys. Here we also have this quotation: "We've got to have rules and obey them. After all, we're not savages, we're English, and English are best at everything. So we've got to do the right things." Interesting here at the beginning of the novel, this is Jack, who is the co-leader, who is reinforcing the idea of rules. He's reinforcing this idea of obedience and order. He says we're not savages, and obviously this is an interesting ironic foreshadow because the boys descend into savagery on the island. And he says we're English, we're the best at everything. Again, the self-serving, competitive, overweening arrogance is there, but we've got to do things right, is what he says. And obviously that adjective right is really about morality, and that's the heart of the novel, exploring this idea that when we strip all the confines of society away, will people do the right thing? And at this point of the novel, Jack says that he will. However, very soon afterwards, when there's a disagreement, when his voice isn't heard, Jack smacked Piggy's head. Piggy's glasses flew off and tinkled on the rocks. Now here is Jack saying that they're supposed to do the right thing on the one hand, and the other hand punching Piggy in the head. Now this violent verb, smacked, it's onomatopoeic. You can feel the force and the brutality that he has, first of all, with one boy who's physically inferior to him, although he's intellectually superior. And you can see that the glasses flew off Piggy's face. Now these glasses are about foresight, intelligence, rational thinking, scientific knowledge, and the fact that the glasses are flying from Piggy, it shows that the rational, scientific, intellectual side of that society is being damaged, being harmed by brutality and violence. Another quotation here is when Jack decides to rebel. He says sucks to the little ones. So instead of taking his responsibility as co-chief to really protect the others, he's dismissing them. Sucks to the little one. So this imperative insult shows him rejecting and dismissing all aspects of responsibility and really just thinking about himself. There it says, "He laid the conch with great care in the grass at his feet. The humiliating tears were running from the corner of each eye. I'm not going to play anymore, not with you." You can see that he's been defeated. The logic, if you like, the reason, the morality represented by Ralph and by Piggy has defeated him. He has nothing but shame because he cannot have his own way at this point. And that adjective, humiliating, shows that he's pushed his way forward, and through the normal, ordinary channels, the talking, the voting, the debating, and the conch, which represents order and democracy, he cannot have his own way. He lays the conch down, which shows he's abandoning democracy, and he's going to try a different approach, much more savage and much more unruly and much more unconventional. Here he is forcing himself as chief, and the fear of the beast or the beastie is really driving the boys. And as Jack decides that he's rejecting the other boys to create his own society, became his own chief rather than to be co-chief, he has a theological speculation presenting itself. We better keep on the right side of him anyhow. You can't tell what he might do. This is interesting. There's a shift here. That adjective, theological, shows that Jack understands that he can exploit the fear and the weakness of the boys for his own advantage by using the beast as a symbol of something that he can exploit. He can become a more powerful leader and almost like a religious figure, not just a military leader. He was chief now, in truth. He made stabbing motions with his spear. From his left hand dangles Piggy's broken glasses. So we can see that in the right hand is the spear, representing the violence and the force. In the left hand is the broken glasses. He's stolen, if you like, the fire. He's stolen the ability to make fire. You can see the violence and the theft and the cruelty all there symbolized. And then finally, the breaking of the conch, the deaths of Piggy and Simon lay over the island like a vapor. These painted savages would go further and further. You can see the rise of barbarism, brutality, and dictatorship. He breaks the conch. He kills Piggy, kills Simon. They paint their faces, and the paint really represents that idea that when you become anonymous, you can be even more cruel. You're taking on a different persona, not a human one, an inhuman one. And you can see the rise of Jack into this barbaric, totalitarian leader on the island. I hope that's helped you to understand Jack's character more. Thank you for joining me, and goodbye.